And we are live. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Level Up Live. I am Dr. Sharita Gaskin-Stillette. I am your host, and you are not seeing things. There is actually daylight behind me. We are actually on at 12 noon because our special guest today is traveling somewhere in the world, and this was this was a much better time for her. So I'm just going to allow a couple of minutes for folks to come in, and then we'll get started. If you're watching us live, say hi in the comments, and put your questions in the comments. I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions for her. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, still put your questions in the comments because I will forward your questions on and you'll be able to get those answered. I do just want to remind you that our fall retreat, A Weekend for Me, is coming up November 2nd through the 5th. We are going to be in San Juan, Puerto Rico. I am super duper excited. We are opening registration, hopefully, let's just say a couple of prayers, technologically speaking, opening registration in the next 48 to 72 hours. So, block those dates, November 2nd through November 5th. Our last retreat was in March and it was phenomenal. And I truly believe this one is going to be even better. So let's jump in. I'm going to introduce our special guest today. Our guest is Dr. Latifat Akintade. I think I said that wrong. Dr. Latifat is a gastroenterologist and best-selling author of Done with Broke, The Women Physician's Guide to More Money and Less Hustle. She is also the founder of Money Coaching School for Badass Women Physicians and host of the MoneyFitMD podcast. She combines her interest in personal finance, her training as a certified life coach, and her passion for physician wellness. She believes every physician can create their wealthy life. Her mission is to equip every physician with the tools they need to be financially liberated, to live well, fully without burning out. And she's also my coach. So welcome, Dr. Latifat. How are you?
Okay, I'm truly honored to be here. First, I get to hang out with you and I get to hang out with your people. I'm
Yes.
doing fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'd like to usually start in about the same place. I ask people to take us through their journey in medicine. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Did you always want to be a physician? Did you always know you wanted to be a gastroenterologist?
So, I grew up in Nigeria. My parents both did not go to college. I have siblings. I have some older siblings and younger siblings, and none of them were in the sciences or in healthcare. But it was really interesting because at a really early age, I'm talking like 8, something that early, I just was interested in what physicians did. And I saw things that I did not like. And I don't know, naive enough, or thank God that I actually felt that way. I thought I could do a better job. And so I
Mm.
started telling my parents that, okay, I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't know it was even called medicine. My sister was talking about doing accountancy, which is what they call accounting in Nigeria. So I would say I wanted to do doctorancy, right? My parents saw that interest. And for them, being that they didn't go to college, it was their heart's desire that their children would do well in the world. So they really encouraged me on that route. They let me skip some house chores, which my
Oh,
siblings
wow.
still think about today. They let me put my face in the book because I'm like, I can't do that right. I can't sleep right now. I'm studying, right? So I got away with some stuff when I
Okay.
was little. Thank you, medicine. But that's how my journey in medicine kind of began. And as I went through life, I moved to the US when I was 18 years old. And at that point, I realized that there were other options for me. So I kept an open mind and just sort of felt like, what else piques my interest? And medicine has stayed as my primary interest throughout the years. I didn't know what a GI doctor was until I actually started medical school. So at no point did I think I was going to be a GI doctor. I thought maybe primary care, maybe I would do pediatrics, I would do internal medicine, because some of the best doctors that I'd encountered were pediatricians and primary care doctors, and people that looked like me were in those fields and ridiculously smart. So I
Yes.
thought that was what I was going to do. But then third year of medical school started, and I was like, oh, I love diverticulitis.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh, I can talk about poop all day, right? And that has led me into being a GI doctor, which is what I've been doing now for the past 7 years. I'm currently taking some time off. I'm taking a year off to travel with my family. So, which meant quitting my job. So, because they said they did not allow sabbaticals.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to have to quit. So, I
Right.
did that. And I'm so, so glad that I did. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that in the interview.
Wonderful. So now, okay, so we know that you're a gastroenterologist. We know that you are traveling the world. How did we get from there to here? So I know that you're a money coach because you're my money coach. How did you get into money coaching?
So, I will be honest with you. I knew zero about money. So, this is not like, oh, she's a money coach. She was born knowing the lingo. Nah, I knew zero about money. When I moved to the US, my parents stayed back in Nigeria. We stayed with family members, and the extent of financial education that I got was there's this amazing thing called a credit card. You can use it and just pay a little at a time. And that was all I knew about money. It really wasn't until I was almost done with my training that I started learning about money, because by that time I did not know anything about any money lingos. I did not know where my money was going. I knew that I had student debt, but I really didn't know how much. But there's someone, an Auntie Sally Mae, that used to
Right.
write me letters asking me. And I was
Right.
like, I don't know what she wants, but I don't have money. So I would defer, forbear, whatever the crap I could do to get it out of my face. So it really wasn't until I was an early attendantship, was when I was like, okay, Latifat, if you don't learn about money, and I will be honest with your audience, the main reason why I decided to face my fears about looking at my money and learning all those lingos was really because at that time I had 2 kids. Now we have 3 kids. And I'd looked at them. I'd spent part of my residency and my fellowship apologizing for things that I thought I didn't have control over. I thought I didn't have control over my time. I didn't have control over my finances. I didn't have control over my life, literally, because our time is our life,
Yeah.
right? And so here I was going into attendantship, knowing that I was going to choose to work with someone. And the reason why I chose to work with someone as a big company was because I have an interest in inflammatory bowel diseases like Crohn's disease, colitis, and those are best served in those large organizations. So I knew that I was going to be working for someone. So I knew that if I did not have my money together, if I did not give myself the gift of what I call financial liberation, I was going to keep living my life apologizing. And I knew that I was going to be on a one-way track to burnout. So that was how it started. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't pretty. It literally was like, what is a budget? Ew, I hate budgeting. How much do I owe? Like, what do I even owe? How much credit card debt do I have? So this is like as basic as it could sound. And the reason why I like to share that is I'm never impressed about how bad someone's story is, because if you're like, you have no idea what it's but I'm like, come here, let me talk to you. I am a boss at how bad it could be. And if I can go from there to what I've been able to create in this time, it's not a cliche, and it's zero BS when I say that anybody can do this. It just takes learning the skills, learning the numbers, and figuring out what is important to them and creating a path for themselves.
Okay. So now how long did it take you to create a path and to realize that you were onto something so much so that you could pass it on to other people?
Okay, so I will be honest with you again. I had no plans of passing on anything to anybody. I just wanted to be a GI doctor, teaching my patients IBD, helping them live their best life, and I would have died happy. I love being a physician. Love, love, love. And when I started learning about money and seeing that, oh my goodness, this stuff is actually not hard. Oh my goodness, this seems like it's how I'm thinking about it, not just like the numbers. It's the way that the thoughts I have, the stories, the knowledge that I've gotten or not gotten about money from generations. And so what I started doing was, like any good physician, when we find something good, we share with others. So I started sharing with my friends, with my colleagues. I started seeing my friends like getting good at money, learning things. I'm like, you don't need a perfect budget, just do this, right? And they started doing it, and we started getting like good results from it. And people started asking me for help. And I still was not interested in being a business owner. I did not want to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to be a freaking physician that loves medicine and doesn't burn out to grind. But then the pandemic happened.
Mm,
And when the pandemic happened, physicians were losing their job.
right.
Nurses were losing their jobs. People that were earning from the same source as I am were worried about their income. And I was not worried about money at all. And what that meant was I could focus on the things that money couldn't take care of. I could focus on making sure my kids were well, my parents were well, my kids' mindset, like the mental health, because
Yes.
everyone was like in crap, right? And all that stuff. And so I could focus on that. And even though I did not want to start a business formally, I felt like I had no choice because here I was with something that I believe that a lot of physicians needed, and it just didn't feel good to hide it and not share it. So that's how MoneyFitMD started, with me recording videos and the podcast. And then I'm like, okay, let me gather my friends together and teach them. And that's how the group started. And now it's obviously grown into more than just my friends, but people that I absolutely love, which is women physicians, and the amazing things that they get to create now because they understand that their life has value. If Latifat can do it, they can do it. And now they're seeing other people do it, right? Not just about the numbers only, but the freedom, because the
Right.
number is not what's going to create the freedom. It's the number and the mindset. And you need both, not one or the other.
Right, right, right. And I think, one of the points that you made is really huge. And that is that um, we have to, where was I going with this? To think about what we want from our lives. That, because we as physicians had this misconception before the pandemic that we were secure and we were stable and we were safe. And the pandemic showed us that nobody is stable, secure, or safe unless they have another means of earning or of earning money, another way of living. We can't be dependent on our W-2 income, or even, if you're a practice owner, even, be dependent on that, because there are external factors that come along. It may not be a pandemic, it could be something else, it could be a health challenge. It could be anything that comes along and kind of turns over the apple cart. And when it does, we have to be prepared. So I love that, that you've answered the call. Definitely.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, the other reason why I decided to get my money stuff together is because I did not want to live a life of regret. Okay. To be a physician takes a lot of hard work. But for me, it also took a lot of sacrifice from people that were not just me. My mom literally put like 5 of her kids on an airplane, and I didn't see my mother for 5 years.
Wow.
5 years, right? And I think about like the sacrifices that other people have done throughout my journey and all of our journey. And I did not want to regret going into medicine. And so not wanting to do that meant that I knew I needed to get my money stuff together. And the reason why that came up as you were talking is when we look at healthcare today, healthcare is very different from what it was 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. And honestly, it almost seems like sometimes we are here because we love it. We do medicine because we have the heart to heal and take care of our patients. But sometimes even our patients look at us like it's like, why would you do this, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is there can tend to be this increased amount of regret, not just because of the way that medicine is, but also because the people that we're serving are like, well, you serve me, like, colonial type of mindset, which is not how I like to think about stuff. And so for me, when physicians have the money to stay or leave, do their life, it's like, actually, no, I'm here because I want to. And you gotta get yourself in line, because I will still, like, you will not be my patient anymore if you keep disrespecting me like this. And what that does, it helps us be in our power so that we can take care of our patients even more in a way that is whole, in a way that is well, and we don't have to sacrifice our family, our health, our wellness, or even our dreams, and wherever that takes us in order to serve the goals that we're serving right now.
Wow. There's so much in that. So tell me, there's people that have wealth, that are born with wealth. And then there are some of the rest of us. And I would say that some of the rest of us don't realize that we have the ability to change our stars, our trajectory, if you will. You know, I think for me, I'll talk about myself. I had a misconception that once I became an attending physician, I would have like everything I need. I would have all the money I would ever need as long as I live. And that was the biggest joke ever, right? Because what I didn't factor in, and what a lot of people don't think about when they look at physicians, is the amount of debt that normal people are saddled with. So if you don't come from wealth and you don't have parents that have paid for your medical education, you are coming out, you know, multiple six figures in debt. And you're trying to dig your way. You're starting from behind anyway, because you're not earning an income, you know, decent salary until your mid 30s. So you're way behind, 10 years behind your schoolmates. And then you are coming out with all of this debt. So you're even farther behind. And the stress of finances, you know, you kind of touched on that before, that when the pandemic hit, you didn't have the same level of stress or the same kinds of stress that other people were experiencing, because you had that financial security. So how, I guess this is a long-winded way of asking, how do you take someone who has no real experience with money, no story, nobody ever had money in their life, how do you take them from that place to where you are?
Absolutely. And I love that question. So we're going to think about the math. The math is, right, what you own minus what you owe. That's it, right? What you own minus what you owe. So if you look at a plant, so keeping that in mind, a lot of people are like, now tell me the numbers. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you're looking at a tree, and I love plants, I love trees because I think they're really visual analogies. The most solid trees have good roots. Okay, so if you want a plant that is going to do well, a lot of times it would grow in the bottom, the roots is going to grow, develop, and then it's going to grow up, right? So when I think about the root is our mindset, the way we think about money. The reason why many of us, and I'm saying many of us because different people are in different circumstances, but the reason why Latifat A, which is me with my history and all that, versus Latifat B in the same circumstance may do differently, has to do with that root underneath the surface, right? Because again, there are people that earn way more than I do, that don't have the financial net worth, number one, but also just don't have the mindset of freedom that I believe we all want. Because at the end of the day, we want money, not because we just want a bunch of dollars to roll on our bed with, but because of what we want it to do for us. So if you have the money, the numbers, and it's not doing that thing for you, then something is missing. And in fact, I think if you're someone that grew up not having, or grew up in a family where there was more lack financially, a lot of times the explanation is easier. We're like, well, nobody knew, nobody taught me. But what I found is when I even work with people that have had means, but they don't have that feeling they're looking for, they also have a level of shame because they're like, well, I'm supposed to have that result, but I don't have it. I have the numbers, but don't have the results. So there can be both of those two things. You can have the number, but if you don't have the mindset, the habits, the pattern, the psychology, you're not going to feel the way you want to feel. It's like eating and not drinking water. You're not going to feel satisfied. You're like, well, I ate a lot of money or I drank a lot of whatever, but you get my point. So the key is the mindset piece has to be part of it. And how do I know? I did not know that. I thought it was all about the freaking math. And when I found out that there was something called mindset or how we think about money, I literally cried.
Well, how did you figure that out? That was actually going to be my next question as you were talking. How did you find out about money mindset?
Very, very accidental. I found out because we started investing in real estate. And when we started investing with real estate, we chose to go learn in spaces where those conversations were being had. And then when I started hearing those conversations, I started hearing like the word mindset. I'm like, what the hell is mindset? And it's like, well, it's a psychology behind money. It's how we think about money. It's how like someone would come in right now, give both of us $100. And at the end of like 6 months, you may have a great outcome and I may not. with the same input. And I cried because I'm like, you mean that it's not just about the numbers, and we've been banging our heads waiting for like, maybe when I earn enough, things will get better.
Right.
Maybe when I earn enough, things will change, right? And so that's why I was like, and that's why, honestly, that's why I do everything that I do at MoneyFitMD, because I'm like, I need to like take this and like yell it to the ends of the earth, because it's not just about the numbers. But going back to that part though, so the root has to be taken care of, because if the root is not taken care of, you're always going to earn, but you're never going to have.
Mm. Okay. All right. And so then what's the mindset that we're supposed to adopt?
So there's a lot, but I'm going to keep them simple for the sake of this conversation. Number one is you can get my book. My book goes into more details about that. So y'all go check out Done with Broke.
Done with Broke.
Book 60 is in the house, right? Go check out Done with Broke. It has a lot more information. But if I was going to pick the ones to talk to your audience about, it is literally what I like scream. And I like saying scream, but it's not. It's just like passionate. Talk to my women about, and it's the idea of ownership. It's the idea of ownership, okay? The goal is ownership. Ownership of things that the value increases over time, right? And people would call that like assets. So when I think about the value of things going up, I think about things like having a business that is growing, having your voice. Our voice is an asset, in my opinion. Your time is an asset. So when you own your time, when you're like the boss of your time, when you're like, you know what, let me check my calendar. Yeah, sure. Yes, no. You own your time, right? But also like tangible things like real estate. And that could be active or passive, could be like residential, could be commercial, like whatever. But owning things and owning parts, like proportions of businesses, so like the stock market, which is what stocks are, right? So it's a matter of like, how can we, if there's one mindset question I'm going to ask, it's like, how can I increase my ownership of things that their value is going to go up with time? That is a simple question. And the way we get there now is how everything else is surrounded. So it's like understanding debt better. That debt is not something that has to define us. It's not bad or good. How we use it is what matters, and not over leveraging, not over borrowing is what matters. How do we spend in such a way that increases ownership, right? Because if we're doing that, I don't really care what your budget is. I just care that you're increasing your ownership, right? And especially as like people of diverse colors and history, if you're someone that lives here and people that have gone before you where had things taken away from and decreased ownership, it is literally your responsibility to change the future by increasing your ownership. Right? So again, I haven't talked about any complicated math here, but it's how we think about it. So if you guys that are watching right now, go home and you're like, okay, every single month or twice a month, what do I buy to increase my ownership? Right? You start to change how you spend your money. You're like, okay, yes, I want to buy like amazing shoes because amazing shoes are great, but okay, maybe I'm not going to buy amazing shoes every single paycheck. How do I, instead of buying like amazing shoes every 2 weeks, how do I buy one amazing shoe and like increase my ownership of things that increase in value? That is how we change the narrative. That's how we build wealth. But you're not going to do that if you wait for the perfect time. You do that by starting now. You do that by starting where you are. You're like, okay, Latifat, I hear you. I don't have a lot of money. I only have like 100, 500, 2,000, 5,000 per paycheck. Get started. That's how we do it. Because when you wait until the time is perfect, time is already gone.
Yeah. So now what do you say to the person who says, well, I can't invest now because I owe all this money. So after I pay all of my debts, then I can start investing. What would you say to that person?
Absolutely. So number one goes back to, again, I always will talk about underneath the root and then the trees, right? The trees bloom. But the root is understanding and thinking and changing how we think about debt. That's number one. A lot of times when people have debt, there's a lot of shame and guilt around it. There are people that are super wealthy. They don't carry that shame. In fact, they think like not using debt is like not smart. That's your thought. Like there's somewhat, I'm not saying like, you're low with debt, but when we change in how we think and how we use it, it can be super important. So decreasing the burden of the sleepless night you're having when it comes to debt is important, because what happens is when we're so burdened by it, we don't have the mindset and the clarity of thought to actually think about how we want to spend that money. And what
Right.
ends up happening is we end up overspending on feeling better because you know what? I'm just tired of this debt. Let's go to Disneyland. And there's nothing wrong with Disneyland. I did Disneyland last
Right.
year. My girl dragged me willingly. I was dragged. We did like VIP, amazing, right? So nothing bad about Disneyland in any shape or form. But my point is, when we start to neutralize the power that anything outside of us has on us, we will spend less.
Okay.
That's how you decrease spending on frivolous or unnecessary things without needing to have a strict budget. It's decreasing, it's an inside work, it's decreasing the power that things that are external has on us. When we do that, we spend less, we give differently, right? Because that's important too, because giving is good, but we give differently. We also prioritize our debt differently. We pay off high interest debt without judgment and shame, because everything that you have right now is the result of the knowledge and the history that you've had in the past. And now the decisions of what our future is going to look like, it's going to be based on the decisions that we made today. So when I'm making amends for the decisions that I made in the past, zero judgment. Yeah, whatever. I'm making amends. I'm paying the high interest off. And now when it comes to the lower interest, that's when the conversation starts to happen between should I invest or should I pay off debt? And usually I recommend doing both, because investing and the amount of time you've spent investing is actually more important than choosing the perfect investment even.
Okay. All right. So now, what is the biggest money myth that you find amongst women physicians?
Okay, so I may have ruffled a couple of feathers, but that should have been in the disclaimer when you invited me over here. But so one of the myths that I hear is I don't earn enough. Okay, I don't earn enough for my clinical income. And the reason why I call that a myth is that if you're watching and you're not a physician, there's a huge variety and range of income that physicians earn. And I'm all for earning more, right? But the key is this: there's some physicians that are going to earn like seven figures. There's some that earn like multiple hundreds, that kind of stuff. But what I always remind people is it's not even what you earn that matters. It's what you're doing with it that matters, right? And yes, we can compare with everybody. If I was comparing with even my colleagues that work clinically in the same, some of them get paid more than I do, and that's okay. But I'm creating more. I get to create more because it's not just about what we earn, it's what we do with it that matters. So I think that's a myth. Number two myth that I hear is I'm not a money person. I'm just going to trust someone else to take care of it. There's nothing wrong with trusting people. And again, inside Down with Brooke, I talk about being the CEO of your finances. But if you think about like some of the most successful companies that the CEOs are still directing. They're the ones like directing the orchestra. They may not be the ones playing it, but they have to know enough. The best CEOs know enough about what's happening in different divisions to be dangerous, right? So for you as a woman physician, thinking that trusting somebody else, and that could be a spouse, that could be a financial advisor, and there's nothing wrong with spouses. I have one that is here right now. Listen to me talk to y'all, right? I love my spouse, right? There's nothing that can be a gift. Financial advisors can be as well. I don't have one because I've had bad experiences in the past. But the key is delegating all of our power and believing and hoping that someone is helping you do the right thing doesn't do anything to help empower you as a person and build your own trust in yourself as the CEO of your finance. And if you don't trust yourself as the CEO to manage that orchestra, if one thing changes external, if one thing happens with your relationship, with your spouse, with the advisor, suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on. And honestly, I will tell you this, guys, there's a conscious part of what we think. There's also the subconscious part of what we think. A lot of times the subconscious actually has a lot of power on what we're doing and the decisions that we're making, but sometimes we silence it. So even though, yes, you have someone that you may trust, but subconsciously, there is that thing that tells you that I should probably learn. And like, okay, no, I'm going to move on to the next day. I'm just going to ignore that. But pay attention, because that part is there to help you make sure that your future self is taken care of, right? I have people that thought their spouses were great with money. And it wasn't until they started learning about money that they're like, how about we do this thing? And the spouse is like, you know what? You're right. So when we learn, Number one is we help our spouses that may even be doing it, your partners that may be doing it. You help them be better because our brains are amazing. We're freaking women physicians, right? But even if you have a trusted professional, it changes the quality of your question and it helps them serve you on a higher level. So
Uh,
those are some of the most common myths that I hear.
okay. Now, I did have somebody write in a question. How do I find money leaks?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I have a document that has like how to find your money leaks. I think it's a moneyfitmd.com/money leak, literally. And
Okay.
what it is it's a way of finding where the leaks are in your basket. Where is my
What
money?
does it mean by money leak?
Exactly. So it's a leak. It's like you have a bucket. It's like you have
With
a
a hole
bucket
in it.
of water, and you're like, okay, wait a minute. 5 seconds ago, it was full. I did not feel like I was drinking it, and now it's empty or it's less than I think it should be. That's a money leak. And I think it's something that is really important in our personal finance, in your business finance, finding the money leak. And some of the simple questions that I ask is this. Number one is we start with below the surface, and then we talk about above the surface. Below the surface stuff is this. You cannot judge yourself. You cannot shame yourself. Because the reason why you haven't found the leak is not because you don't know how to look. It's because of the other subconscious stuff, the judgment, the shame that's preventing us. So the way that I like to tell people is reframing that mindset or that thought and thinking more like you're badass for finding stuff, right? It's like a pathologist looking under a slide. They're looking for one abnormal cell that is like at angle 45 instead of angle 60 degrees, right? So you're looking for things that are not where they should be, really, without judgment, without shame. That's what you're trying to do. And now looking at your money, and this could literally be as simple as your statement, your credit card statement, your debit card statement, or if you use things like Mint, they're good for that. If you use things like YNAB, if you use things like Personal Capital, those are good things or resources that you can also use as well. But the question you're asking yourself is just being curious about, where is my money going? Like when the money gets into my account from whether it's one source of income or multiple sources of income, where is it going? Am I surprised? And feel free to draw a table for those that are asking that question and asking yourself, like, where is it going? Am I surprised by where it's going? Am I surprised by how much I'm spending in where it's going? And 6 months from now, will I spend this money this way? Or will I be happy that I spend this money this way? Or will I wish that I had the money back? If you ask yourself those three questions, but the most important thing is zero judgment, curiosity only. You can make it fun. Actually, maybe I'll just give you a challenge and say I double, triple dare you to go find $2,000 right now in your money that you did not know where it was good. Like, we can make this stuff fun. It doesn't have to be this heavy thing. And in fact, the more fun we have with money, the more we're all going to do it. But if you can do that and ask, if first time you look, you may not find anything, just say, okay, I've done it the first time. Now, as a pathologist, right? I'm not a pathologist, but I love pathologists. They always look sort of like far away first, and then they get closer. So if they don't see the first time, they don't say, oh, no abnormal cells. They don't do that. They're like, okay, I'm going to zoom in. So that's what you want to do. Zoom in. Where is your money going? Because if you're earning, but then you're not buying assets, your net worth is not going up. That means you're spending. And sometimes it's your kids. Those kids are cute, but they know how to, those cute little cuties. So asking yourself those questions and being honest without judgment and curiosity only, I promise you, you will find the link. And if you don't, send me a message. Let's take a look. We'll find it together.
Okay, so I want to transition just a little bit to talk about Done with Broke. So tell me the inspiration for the title, and then also just the inspiration, I guess, for the book. What made you write a book? Because you say you didn't intend to have a course, you didn't intend to to be a coach.
Take a sabbatical.
I'm thinking you didn't intend to write a book. So so tell me how that went down.
I did not. I had one goal in life: be a happy parent, serve my patients to the highest level, and leave this world a little better than I met it. That was it. But as I've been doing money, my program, my money coaching, is for women physicians only. I have a lot of loves. I have like men, I have non-physicians that listen to my podcast, and many of them have been asking how they can learn more from me. And so the book was to do that. And you are right. I had no plans of writing a book. In fact, if you ask me, I'm going to go, Psh, oh, I used to think I was a horrible writer. I had that
Not at all.
narrative for so many
Not
years,
at all.
right?
No.
I had that narrative for so many years. So when it came to writing the book, honestly, my faith is important to me. This book was something that I knew that I was what I was meant to do. It was something that I was meant to get out into the world to help people have conversations they haven't had before, make money more accessible to people that look different ways. And that was the main reason, to be honest. But I thought I was bad with writing. So I thought I could get a ghostwriter to write the book for me, which is what people do, which is completely fine. It's better to ask who, not how, get it done than not write the book at all. But then also, I had coached myself through changing my thoughts about being a bad writer, but it still kept on being a little noise in the back of my mind. And I was like, you know what? Let's just get this done and over with and silence this thought forever. So that's why I decided to write it myself. And honestly, it has been so humbling to see what this book has done. I'm not, it's no BS when I shared what I shared earlier, that the less power we give things that are external to us, the more we are going to get into our own power. So the success of this book was not something that I was going to tie my identity on. But when I hear stories of people that are telling me the things, the conversations they're having that they would not have had without reading this book, I know that this book is meant to do great work in the world. And I just happen to be the vessel through which it happens to be here. And for that, I'm super grateful.
I love it. So tell me about the title.
Done with Brooke had a different name before, just so you know.
Okay.
I worked with a great company. You know, we did the whole book, the editing, and I used to tell myself, and the reason why I'm sharing my limiting beliefs, guys, is because we all have them, but also to let you know that it can change. Their thoughts that we have, they're literally sentences in our brain that we practice over and over again that we start to believe. And one of the thoughts that I used to practice that I thought was the truth was that I was bad with naming things. So I actually had them name the book, and they called it a different book. They called it Wealthy Mind RX for Women Physicians. And I'm like, okay, that's a okay name. It's good. And I was like, okay, I'm bad with names. I'm going to trust them. Again, I thought I did not have the power to make that decision. But it was literally, we had gone through the step of like naming the book. It was months before the book got released, but way past the naming. I just could not, I would visualize what this book was going to do. I would visualize being introduced as the author of this book. And when I imagined the person that was being introduced as the author of Wealthy Mind RX, it looked like an old version of me. It looked like a version of me that was a people pleaser, a version of me that cared more about what other people thought than what her and God thought about her. The version of me that it was someone in a skirt suit. A version of me. Can I say shit on your show? I'm a jerk.
You said it now. It's out there.
I said it. And you know me. So if you invited me here, it's because I can say shit. The version of me that couldn't say shit. And that was like a watered down, not authentic, not true to myself version. And so I reached out to them and I said, guys, I actually don't think this book is meant to be called what it is right now. And they said, you know, you're probably getting cold feet. You're probably nervous. It's normal. And I was like, that is possible. But then I thought about, I was like, actually, it's more than that. It's because this book just makes me go back to who I've spent a lot of time, money, intention, prayer, and transformation to not be anymore. And I said, actually, I don't think that's what it is. So they said, what name do you want to call it? And at first I was like, you know, I just came up with a bunch of names on a flight. Literally, I prayed and I was like, what names on a flight? I wrote down a bunch of names. I sent it to them and they picked some and then I pieced them together. And that's why we ended up with Done with Broke. And it's not done being broke because you don't have to be broke to be done with broke. In fact, many of us are not broke, but we're done with that vocabulary because now we have the tools on how to learn money, how to be the CEO of our finances, because broke is just not something that we should ever have to worry about for generations to come, to be honest with you. So that's how about.
So I love this because what you're doing is so empowering. And for me personally, the thing I want most is freedom. And it really seems, reading the book and talking to you and just kind of living life, that at the core of freedom is finances. If you have the finances to live the life you want to live, then you can be free. Like, you're gone for a year, right? I'm gonna phrase it a different way. I have a relative who says you need to have enough money. I'm gonna say peace out coins, right? That's not how she says it, but you get my drift. You got to have enough money to tell people that you're going to peace out, that you're not beholden to anybody, and so you're not stuck. And that's what a lot of us feel. A lot of us feel stuck in jobs that we're not happy with, or some women are stuck in relationships because they don't want to get out because of the financial implications. So learning, being literate about your finances has so much carryover to other aspects of your life, and I love that. So we're getting a little bit short on time. I could probably talk to you at least another hour or two. um, but I'm sure you want to get back to enjoying your vacation or your Sabbath, and we can't talk forever. So tell us, how can we work with you? So if we're a woman physician and we're interested in working with you, how can we work with you? Number one. Number two, how can people get done with broke? So done with broke is for everybody, not just doctors. So talk to us.
Absolutely. In fact, my first review on Down with Broke was a non-physician. So you can get it by going to Amazon. Just go to Amazon, Down with Broke. There is Audible. So you can, if you want to hear my voice for longer, which is, I don't know, God help you and bless you, but go get the Audible, or you can read the book so you can hear it in your own voice as well. It's a powerful book. It's simple to read. There's no lingo. You will literally read it in 2 days. And I've had people tell me that they've read it multiple times because they just keep grabbing new things. So Amazon is the way to go for that. In terms of how to work with me, I have the honor and privilege of being the founder and creator of the Money School for Women Physicians. I call them Badass Women Physicians because that's what we are, right? And it's a community, it's a year-long program that I coach women that come wherever they are. Doesn't matter how much or how little they think they have, we can come help them learn how to own. So they learn the knowledge, they learn the strategy, but even more than that is they get to do that in the best community. And I'm not saying that because I'm the host of the community. I'm saying that because of the caliber of the women that we have in there. They're diverse color, diverse disciplines, no judgment. They're rewriting stories of their life. They're mission driven. And what that means is when we put money in their hands, it's a great thing for the world because they're here to do great things in the world. So that's how you can work with me. And you can do that by going on our website, moneyfitmd.com/start. You can click there to schedule a call with a member of our team, and they will answer any questions. Make sure it's the right fit, because if it's not the right fit, we don't want you there either. Your time is valuable, your life is valuable, so we don't want you to waste any of that. The other opportunity that's coming up actually at the end of this month is a free event that I'm running. It's called the Financial Liberation Plan Workshop.
Sounds good. Financial
Yeah,
liberation. That's what we're all looking for, right?
yeah. And what it is, it's 5 days, it's all virtual, it's free, it's about 30 to 60 minutes a day. There will be replays. So if you're busy, I got you. And what it is I'm going to cover 5 pillars that I believe is critical for women physicians that want to be liberated. And that can happen at every pay, at every net worth code. Because again, it's not just about the numbers. There are many people that have like billions of dollars that don't have the freedom that you could have. So again, we're doing the under the surface stuff and above the surface stuff. So that's the strategy, the mindset. We talk about time, we talk about mindset, we talk about spending, we talk about investing, and it's 5 days and it's free. And you can find out more by going on moneyfitmd.com/F as in Frank, L as in life, and P as in party. So FLP, party. That's
I love it. I love it. So we're going to put all of those links in the comments, so you guys will have easy access to Dr. Latifat. So I like to end on the same question or variation of the same question. And so for you, I would ask, if I'm a woman physician and I'm looking to up level my financial life, what is the single best action I can take?
honestly, the single best is going to be changing the zip code that your brain is.
Okay.
changing the zip code that your brain is, right? And I say that with great awareness of disparities that exist, right? But we cannot keep doing the same thing and hoping for a different result. The reason why I'm able to serve my people of diverse color and all the things that I do is because I'm intentional about learning from what I want to become, and then I bring it to my people. So when I say changing the zip code is, who are you surrounding your brain with? Who are
Right.
you giving the permission to speak into your money brain? Because if you don't do that, if you don't change the zip code, and doesn't mean like physically leaving or whatever, doesn't mean ditching people. It just means like letting your brain marinate in the right fluid that you want to become. So if there's one that's literally changed my life, anytime I want to do anything, including with money and women, when I'm like, okay, it's the recession. I know that people are going to be freaking out, but there are going to be people that are also rejoicing. How do I help my people rejoice? I know my work that I'm meant to do, but to be able to do the work that I'm meant to do, I have to anchor my brain into communities and groups and people that are making changes like that as well. So change the zip code, change the community, change the CSF fluid, the nature, the quality. Don't let people that you don't want their life speak into your brain, because all you're going to do is create exactly what they've created. And that may be a good thing or a bad thing, but that is the single best decision that I made in my life. And I'm so grateful for it because I get to serve the way that I serve because of that.
Wow. So again, the power of community. So like I said, there's so many pearls that I could glean from you, and I could talk to you until tomorrow. But we have to end. Is there anything, if you guys, if you have any other questions, drop them in now. But if there's anything else that you want to impart before we go.
Absolutely. I mean, guys, our past is our past. It doesn't matter. I've seen and worked with people of every net worth, negative multiples, zero, few tens, multiple seven figures. Like I've had conversations with the entire gamut, guys. It is not hard. I promise you. It takes intentionality. It takes working on the things below the surface, but not spending too much time working below the surface only. You got to do both. Prune the leaves and make sure the roots are getting deeper. But if I can do it, I'm not joking. It is not a cliche. I just literally came here like pull my underwear out in public telling y'all that I need zero about money. I did not come here to embarrass myself or my people. I'm just telling the truth, which is the fact that you can. It takes strategy, it takes learning, but it takes a whole lot of change in this. This is 80% mindset, 20% numbers. But if you practice medicine, if you can drive a car, you can do money. I promise you that.
There you have it. If you can, if you can practice medicine, you can drive a car, you can learn money. We got it. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. You guys reach out to her. She is a true gem. Like I was telling her off camera, every time I hear her speak, I learn something new. What you see is what you get. She is extremely authentic, and I appreciate that so much. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Latifat, for coming on. And
Thank you.
we will see you guys next week at the regular time. So we'll be back at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, upcoming a weekend for me, November 2nd through 5th in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Go to www.aweekendforme.com to get on the mailing list so that you are among the first to know when registration opens. That's it. Take care, guys. Have a great
Go
day.
do it. Go do it. Go sign up for her retreat, guys. Go do it. And if money is the reason why you're not, send me a message. Let's figure it out. But definitely go to that retreat because we all need a retreat. Go do it, guys. You deserve it. Go do it.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Bye bye.